introduce the gentleman I just met this morning. And I must admit, having reviewed his resume, and then I met the man who's part of the resume, a very impressive individual. Bryan he asked me to keep it short, but it's very difficult. He has done so many things so well and accomplished so much in his lifetime, and he's still a young man. He's still got things to do. We're delighted to have him with us, Bryan. He is President and CEO of the Hampton Roads Chamber of Commerce. He has extensive business leadership, having served as President and CEO of the Calmar RTC in San Antonio, great town, a major manufacturer of material handling equipment. As President and CEO, he had led the entire spectrum of marketing and sales and the whole 9 yards, and obviously did an incredible job. Prior to that, he was Vice President of Military Programs for Allison Transmission in Indianapolis. The man does travel. The largest manufacturer of military transmissions in the world. And before leaving Hampton Roads, he served as Senior Account Manager at SAC in Suffolk, where he supported the USJFCOM and US Trident. He's a retired colonel, imagine that. Served in a variety of progressive roles over a distinguished 28-year career, and I'm sure that's probably very modest when you say distinguished. His last assignment was included the Infantry Brigade Commander and Division Chief for the 10th Mountain Division, which we've all heard about, very distinguished group, and Chief of Operations and Chief of Staff at the Joint Warfighting Center in Suffolk. Coming from a military family, he's a graduate of West Virginia, Go Mountaineers, with a degree in political science. He has a Master of Strategic Studies from the War College in Carlisle, Pennsylvania, and an MBA from Golden State University in San Francisco. Without any further ado, it's my great pleasure to introduce to you Bryan Stevens.
Well, good morning. Good morning. Good morning. It's a delight for me to be here today and talk to this outstanding organization. I'm a big fan of Rotary's. I know what you guys do, and we were just talking about all the great things that you were talking that you were going to do over the holidays and how much you give back to the community, and that's very meaningful to me, both personally and now professionally in my role as President and CEO of the Hampton Roads Chamber of Commerce. I know we've got some limited time, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the Chamber of Commerce and what we do. We're going to talk a little bit about the challenges that we have here in Hampton Roads from an economic perspective, talk a little bit about what the Chamber's trying to do about it, and then if we've got time, obviously I would be more than happy to answer all of your questions. Bottom line up front is that I work for you. If you are a businessman or woman, or if you were a businessman or woman, or quite frankly if you live in Hampton Roads as a resident, I work for you. And the reason I say that is because the purpose and intent of the Hampton Roads Chamber of Commerce is to set the conditions so that businesses can succeed. It's as simple as that. I am not a chamber guy. You heard my bio there. I'm a military guy. I was brought up in the Army. My father was in the Army. I went into the Army. I served for 28 years. I decided I wanted to go into business, so I went into business and I ran a business for numerous years. Didn't know anything about the chambers. But what I do know is what makes businesses and what makes the military work in a community, which is why I sought this job and came back to Hampton Roads to take this job. So I understand businesses, I understand the military, and I understand what we need to do as a community in order to ensure success of businesses. This is a quad chart, and I've got copies here. If we could pass those out, because I knew this was going to be an eye chart this morning. Thank you very much. And what this quad chart has on it is the mission of the Hampton Roads Chamber of Commerce, our vision, our values, and you can look that over. You can see our overarching goals here. You can see some facts, which is what I want to focus on, and our core competencies here. We are a pretty large chamber. We are the second largest chamber in the state, both from a staff perspective and a membership perspective. We have over 50 people on the chamber staff. As you can see, we're organized into 5 divisions down here. And we have 4 programs. What a lot of people don't realize is that in addition to the Hampton Roads Chamber, or a part of the Hampton Roads Chamber is also our Small Business Development Center that does so much for small businesses and entrepreneurs. We have a LEAD program, which is the Leadership Development Program for our executives in Hampton Roads. We have a sports commission. I could talk all day about our sports commission because I'm kind of an old jock and I like sports. And we have a sports commission that's really involved in bringing in major sporting events into Hampton Roads. An example is next summer you're going to see a lot about the AAU Junior Olympics. We're bringing in over 12,000 young athletes, having a $50 million economic impact to Hampton Roads next year as an example of what that sports commission does and the value that they bring to Hampton Roads. We also have benefits and other discounts through our Chamber Solutions programs. Our core competencies over here, I'll talk about what I think is a major function of a chamber here in a second, and that's our legislative advocacy. But you see the other things that we do here. We are into economic development big time. We are trying to bring businesses into Hampton Roads. We're trying to set the conditions from an infrastructure perspective that allows businesses to, that incentivizes businesses to come in, whether that's the physical infrastructure of our roads, our rail system, whether it's taxes, whether it's grants, whatever. We're working to get businesses into Hampton Roads. Additionally, we're working to get small businesses to stand up in Hampton Roads. And we'll talk a little bit about that here in a minute. We provide a lot of services, if you will. We are a service-based organization. We provide a lot of services to our members. We're not just a networking organization, although we have a lot of networking events. We have all kinds of other services to help businesses succeed. We are experts in marketing, sponsorship opportunities. We give access to our elected leaders. We are the only organization in the state that has been able to bring all of our local, state, and federal legislators together during the year to present to our membership and to give our membership one-on-one access to them. From Senator Warner, Senator Kane, all the way down to our mayors and city council. Let me talk about the first one there, legislative advocacy, because I believe that that's one of the biggest things we do. A chamber, in my mind, is an influencer. And what I mean by that is we try to shape elected officials' decisions. We're lobbyists. And we try to shape those decisions in favor of the business community. An example is last year's General Assembly. We're getting ready to go into this year's General Assembly. We have our legislative agenda, and we've already started that lobbying process with our local state legislators. We have 29 local state legislators here in Hampton Roads. And we work almost daily with them to ensure that your voices are heard in Richmond. This is last year. I know, don't worry about the eye chart piece here, but last year there were 2,547 bills introduced to the Commonwealth General Assembly. My staff read every single one of those bills. And those bills that had an impact on business, we separated. And then we did a deep dive into them and we said, okay, what impact are they going to have on the businesses in Hampton Roads? And then we got together in a meeting and we formed an opinion. We're going to be for the bill, we're going to be against the bill. If we are for the bill, we rolled into Richmond. Not only the 29 delegates and senators from Hampton Roads, but all of our General Assembly, we began to lobby them to ensure that the votes on the House, the votes in the Senate, were reflective of the needs, wants, and desires of the business community here in Hampton Roads. And this is just an example of some of the bills that we worked on and that we were successful in either getting passed or getting killed. Very important what we do. We also do this at the local level with the city councils. We also do this at the federal level with our 4 U.S. representatives and our 2 U.S. senators. We make sure that they have a clear understanding of what the business community here needs. Let me talk a little bit about our region. This is no surprise to everybody. We've got 3 big economic drivers here in Hampton Roads, as you see. Let me talk real briefly about all 3 of them. The Port of Virginia, doing pretty well. You've probably heard this, and I've got a disclaimer. You can't see it down here. Most of my data here is Old Dominion University data, port data, hospitality and tourism data. It's not the chamber data. So this is not our data. I'm just showing it to you. This is cargo tonnage. As you can see, it is up 7.5%. This is last year's data, by the way. We do not have 2014 data yet. But I will tell you, 2014 so far, the tonnage and the TEUs that you'll see here in a second are trending in the right direction as well. So Hampton Roads Port is getting more throughput. There's your TEUs, or your 20-foot equivalent containers, going through. Again, a 5.6% increase. Last year, it looks like it's going to be a bigger increase this year. Talking to John Reinhardt and his staff. This is a comparison of our competitors. Hampton Roads is in the red. We've got 16.87% of the market. And our big competitor, of course, is New York, New Jersey. We're not going to ever beat them. So I kind of see our competition as Savannah. And when you start looking at the widening and the deepening of the Panama Canal and the Pan-Am ships coming down, we want Hampton Roads to be the port of choice for those ships coming in with those big containers. And what we have to do is we have to go to work, and we need to build the infrastructure that allows those TPUs to get off those ships and get out of Hampton Roads, and vice versa. I was at a TPO meeting yesterday, a Transportation Planning Organization meeting yesterday, talking about that exact subject. So we're actively advocating to expand the port, expand the rail and road network around the port so that we can maximize the potential of the great asset we have here, which is one of the deepest ports on the East Coast. How about hotel and tourism? Not so good. Percentage change in hotel revenue, and RevPAR is a hospitality and tourism acronym that means revenue per available room. It's just a key performance indicator that they use in the industry. Hampton Roads, down in both revenue and RevPAR. A little better than the state, but look what the nation's doing. Virginia and Hampton Roads is lagging far behind the rest of the states in the nation with our hospitality and tourism. An issue of concern for the Hampton Roads Chamber of Commerce. It should be an issue of concern for you all, as well as the rest of the citizens here in Hampton Roads. This is by municipality, if you will. Look at Virginia Beach. Down 5.3%. Again, this is 2013 data. I do not have 2014 data, but it's pretty much the same as I understand talking to the hotel folks. Norfolk, down. Hampton Roads overall, down. Not good trending. From a business perspective, you are businessmen and women. You pay attention to trends. This is not a good trend for us. Another example here is the percentage change, same thing. Year over year, Hampton Roads is down 1.3 over it was in 2012. It's going to be down again this year, about the same, about another 1.3, as I understand it. Trending in the wrong directions. A lot of reasons why. The biggest reason that the hoteliers and those that work this industry are telling me is because of the defense budgets, sequestration, less travel by the military into Hampton Roads. TDY, TDA, those type of things are not happening now because of the budget constraints in the military. Plausible, understand, plausible, but I don't think that's the whole picture. I think it also has to do with some of our challenges here with our infrastructure. I think it has to do with how we are marketing as compared to how other areas of high tourist is marketing. People are going to Myrtle Beach, not coming to Virginia Beach. They don't want to be stuck on 64 for 7 hours. So they're going to Myrtle Beach. Myrtle Beach is out hustling us as far as our marketing goes. We're trying to change that. That leads me into the defense spending. Don't want to get into the numbers. You guys can read the paper. I monitor this very close. Spending is down. Defense spending is down all across the nation. It has an impact to our nation. What's going on with our federal government, sequestration, declining defense budgets. But I would tell you that we in Hampton Roads and in Virginia are experiencing a disproportionate impact. We're experiencing a disproportionate impact because just a couple of years ago, our GRP, or gross regional product, for Department of Defense dollars was 49%. It's 42.9% last year. It may drop below 40% for the first time in 2 decades in 2015. Huge impact. We have 25,000 less active duty men and women in Hampton Roads today than we had just 10 years ago. How many of them had families? And what was the economic impact of that? 25,000 fewer military in Hampton Roads. I'm not even sure how many fewer ships we have, but we have fewer ships, and there's threats right now of ships being either decommissioned or, with our national security strategy, ships being moved to the Pacific, what they call a pivot to the Pacific, and a national security strategy that the Obama administration is promulgating right now. Some issues that we are working on. We're working to prevent another BRAC. We're working to make sure that the number of aircraft carriers are not reduced and that they stay here and don't go to the Pacific, or even down to Mayport, Florida, which there's some discussion about that as well. Naval construction, the shipyard, big business here in Hampton Roads, billions of dollars in economic impact. We got to make sure that those programs continue to be funded. And you see the other defense industry there. Those data points that I just briefed you on is causing what I call a gap in our economy in Hampton Roads. If you could envision a trajectory of our economy here, what's happening with sequestration, what's happening with our tourism, down here, it's presenting a gap. Declining defense spending, lack of appreciable growth in the other economic drivers, in fact, a declination in our hospitality and tourism, and a lack of diversification. So what are we doing about it from a chamber perspective? First of all, we're doing everything we can to support the growth of the port and tourism, our 2 other main economic drivers. We're doing everything we can to prevent further cuts to our defense spending, working with our federal legislators to do that, mitigating the effects of defense cut to our local businesses. We're helping local businesses that have primary business in the defense sector to diversify and some way migrate into the commercial environment so that they can keep their revenue and profits up to where they are. And we're trying to diversify the economy. We're doing that through making this a pro-business region and working economic development to bring in major companies. We're also working to develop new markets here. You all will probably see next Monday in Inside Business an op-ed written by me where we're partnering with our federal legislators and the governor on coastal energy. Everybody's got an opinion of coastal energy, but the bottom line is we're talking about 25,000 jobs in Hampton Roads and a $4 billion economic impact. And we need to do it safely with the environment in mind.
Are you talking about the wind things?
I'm talking about wind, all kinds of alternative energy, but mostly I'm talking about oil and gas off the coast. They're doing research and acoustic diagnostics on it right now. And we're trying to incentivize small business and startups. The thought is this: if we could bring in those 25,000 new jobs, if we could bring in companies that have 1,000 employees, and if we can start 1,000 new businesses with 10 employees each, you guys do the number, we've made up that gap. And the Hampton Roads economy continues to grow. That's what we're trying to do at the Hampton Roads Chamber. Just the final thoughts. As I said at the beginning, I and my staff work for all of you. We understand the challenges, and we're working very hard to ensure we address those challenges in a smart, efficient, and mostly successful fashion. I will skip over this and just say that this is the Chamber's motto, if you will. Abraham Lincoln said this, and we believe it here in Hampton Roads. The best way to predict our future here in Hampton Roads is to go out and create it. We've got some challenges. Tourism's down, defense dollars are down, so we have a lack of diversification. We can throw up our hands and say, oh, woe is me, it's the economy, or we can go to work and do something about it. Your chamber is going to work to do something about it. I think we've got a minute or two left for some questions.
Yeah,
yes, sir.
a couple minutes. Schools and roads,
yeah.
I would assume your biggest challenge.
Well, when you say schools, I put that in the category of workforce development. We're putting together a continuum of workforce development from birth to job. So we have pre-K programs that we're implementing in the daycare centers and trying to educate young parents about that. 80% of a child's brain is developed before they're 3 years old. So we're working on that, K through 12, and then post-high school, whether it is some sort of accreditation, certification, additional training, keep people from having to get minimum wage jobs, get more high-paying jobs, and then of course your college and above education. So we call it a continuum of workforce development. And the transportation is the other big issue that we're working on. So workforce development, transportation.
You're adding 25,000 people, hypothetically, well, roads already can't handle what they got.
And I think that we are maturing in that process. I could give you a separate hour briefing on what the plan is for the road infrastructures here in Hampton Roads. It's a combination of federal, state, and local funding. I will tell you that they're looking at possibly some additional tolling in order to address it. I know you guys hate that, but if you look at success in other areas, that's part of the puzzle in order to address the increased congestion. Yes, sir.
With all the things that you're doing and you're involved in, what would you say since you've been in the job, is your greatest point of frustration?
Well, it's a good question, but it's actually an easy one. It's the lack of regional cooperation and collaboration. The challenge is when you look at successful municipalities, what they call MSAs, municipal statistical areas. When you look at the most successful in the nation, it is Denver, it is Portland, it is Austin, it is Charlotte. What do they all have in common? One municipality. Maybe there's some small municipalities out there. We've got 7 here in Hampton Roads. So the challenge is bringing all them together with the thought that the rising tide floats all ships. And we still have not broke that paradigm, but we're getting better with that.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
With the hotel and tourism industry, why do you think Norfolk is building a big hotel?
To attract more tourists and conventioneers. It's the concept. If you talk to the economist over at ODU, they'll tell you that's hogwash. I don't know. I'm not an economist. But yeah, the thought is that if they build it, they will come. Kind of the same concept with the arena. The arena is big in the news right now too. The arena is going to happen. The arena is going to happen. And so we know the hotel's coming, and the hotel's coming in Virginia Beach. We know Norfolk. The arena's coming in Virginia Beach. What are we as a community going to do to embrace it? And how do we leverage it? Yes, sir.
Bryan, I think you know this already. One of the exciting things about Virginia Beach is they're looking over a 20-year plan to bring in the biomed company out near this Princess Anne complex, and that's exciting.
It is. Yeah. We think that that alternative energy is great. We think that that advanced manufacturing. We think IT. We think cybersecurity. There's a lot of different industries that we need to go after and bring them here to Hampton Roads, but we got to create the environment where they want to come. And so that's what we're actively working on right now. Creating the environment, good schools, good plan for workforce development, talent. We're working with our military civilian transition. We're marketing that. We're working on all the other infrastructure, the taxes, the incentives, the grants, all of that to set the conditions so that these businesses will be incentivized to come in. And again, success leaves clues, and we're getting our you-know-what kicked by other states right now that are doing these things. Texas, Florida, New York are all doing what I'm talking about doing, and we are not doing it as aggressively. And so that's why we are working with Governor McAuliffe, his staff, and the General Assembly to try to get bills passed this year, which will allow a lot of this stuff to happen.
All right, thank you. Remember us with your morning coffee.
Thank you.
Have on timer every morning, so you remember our 408 test, and you're always welcome back, please. And one last thing, if you will draw the winning lottery ticket for us, and just read the last 3 numbers.
422.
Who's got it? You got it, Jan? All right, Jan's got it. Very good.